A Bookworm's Journey in the Cardinal World. Tensura X Ascendance of a Bookworm by Galaxycharmer123. 3 Massacre in Tempest Rimuru's POV. I was in the middle of teaching at Freedom Academy, guiding the children through their lesson, when Soy silently appeared before me with a report. Another one, similar to these children? I asked, feeling a familiar concern. Yes, my lord, Soy confirmed. I've observed her personally. Additionally, 3 individuals with high magicule content are accompanying her, and they are en route to Tempest to discuss a trade agreement with you. Interesting, I mused. Continued tailing them and report if anything unusual happens. I'll return to Tempest when they arrive. As you wish, Lord Rimuru. Soy bowed and vanished as silently as he had appeared. I frowned, contemplating how to handle this situation. Another person like the children, whose mana was out of control, could be in danger, just like they had been. Is something wrong, Sensei? Chloe asked, her large eyes full of concern. Yes, I replied. Another person like you all, with unstable mana, is on her way here. You can help her, right? Kenya asked, his voice tinged with anxiety. I could see the worry in their eyes. They understood what it meant to be in such a perilous situation, and they knew that without my intervention, they might not have survived. Please, save her, Alice pleaded, her voice urgent. Yeah, Sensei, if it's you, you can definitely save her like you saved us, Gale added. Alright, I get it, I said, raising my hands in mock surrender. I promise I'll help her, just like I helped all of you. Thank you, Sensei, they all chorused, their relief palpable. Now, let's get back to the lesson. No slacking off just because we had a serious conversation. Boo, 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 they protested in unison, but with laughter in their eyes. Come on now, no excuses, I chuckled, and soon we were back to our studies, though my mind kept drifting back to the impending arrival of this mysterious girl with unstable mana. Mine's POV. Our journey through the Jura forest was nothing short of astonishing. The roads were smooth and paved, lined with milestones and equipped with water wells and inns at regular intervals. It felt like we were traveling through a well-settled region rather than a wild, untamed forest. Rimuru-sama is definitely an otherworlder, I thought to myself, marveling at the infrastructure. This level of technology and organization is far beyond what's possible in this world. Perhaps I should consider moving my family here, where innovation thrives, rather than staying in Ehrenfest where progress is stifled by tradition. Mine, what are those? Ferdinand asked, pointing to a nearby water well. That's a hand pump, I explained. It draws water from underground. I had considered designing something similar, but it seems they've already implemented it here. Incredible, Ferdinand muttered. Water in the middle of a forest. And these milestones. Inns at regular intervals. Lord Rimuru is a remarkable ruler to have accomplished so much in just 2 years. Who exactly is he? As we continued, we were approached by 2 hobgoblins riding on wolves. They greeted us with friendly smiles, though Eckhart tensed up, ready to defend us if necessary. Ferdinand gestured for him to stand down and stepped forward to speak with them, while I tried to calm my family, who were trembling with fear in the other carriage. Relax, I told them. This is a routine patrol to ensure the safety of travelers. How do you know that? Mom asked, her voice shaking. It was written on the large board back there, I explained. It detailed the rules of the road, the services available, and what to do in case of emergencies. It really doesn't feel like we're in the middle of a forest, does it? Mom said, and I nodded in agreement. It felt more like a journey through a well-governed nation. Ferdinand's POV. I stepped out of the carriage to speak with the patrol guards conducting their inspection. Eckhart and Justice stood by, ready to intervene if necessary. Do not carry any weapons, Eckhart, Justice, I ordered, giving them a stern look when they hesitated. But my lord, Eckhart began, but I cut him off with a glare. No, I insisted. They might perceive it as a threat. We are in the Jura forest, and we must respect their laws. Justice, accompany me. As you wish, my lord. I approached the guards, who were smiling amicably. Is there a problem with our carriage, sir? I asked. Nothing to worry about, one of the hobgoblins replied cheerfully. This is just a routine inspection. Our duty is to maintain peace on the roads so travelers can journey safely. Thank you for informing me, I replied, returning his smile. With the inspection complete, we resumed our journey. We decided to stop at one of the inns, which, to my surprise, charged only 10 silver coins for a room. The accommodations were far superior to anything in Bloomend, and I couldn't help but marvel at the efficiency and hospitality of Tempest. Later that night, I called a meeting with mine, Benno, Eckhart, and Justice to discuss our next steps. Everyone, speak freely, I began. Forget your status for now and give me your honest thoughts on Tempest. Lord Rimuru is an exceptional leader, mine said first. To create such infrastructure in such a short time is nothing short of miraculous. We should strive to make a favorable impression on him. Our duchy stands to benefit greatly, and I might finally get access to more books if we set up trade here. Setting aside mine's obsession with books, Benno added with a chuckle, I agree with her. As a merchant, I see immense value in these roads. I had prepared for a month-long journey through a treacherous forest, but at this rate, we'll reach our destination within a week. If Tempest continues to develop, it could overshadow trade routes through Farmus, and we might lose our tariffs. We should consider offering lower taxes and tariffs to attract merchants through Ehrenfest instead. A valid point, I acknowledged. Justice, I'm concerned about how the nobles and clergy will react, Justice said thoughtfully. We must tread carefully to avoid diplomatic isolation. Agreed. And you, Eckhart? I advise caution as well, Eckhart replied. The patrol knights we encountered were on par with Ehrenfest's knights in terms of magicule levels. Tempest's military strength is likely formidable. Indeed, I said, nodding. We must be vigilant, but also aim to establish a positive relationship. Perhaps we can negotiate a back-channel trade agreement through Bloomend. The meeting ended, and I began to plan our approach upon reaching Tempest. Mine's POV after 10 days, we arrived in Rimuru City. The city was breathtaking, clean, well-maintained, and bustling with life. Unlike Ehrenfest, there were no divisions based on status, and humans and monsters lived in harmony. It was a stark contrast to everything I had known. Whatever it takes, I must move my family here, I promised myself. As we approached the central district, we were greeted by two Kijin, a pink-haired woman named Shuna and a purple-haired woman named Xian. Both were elegantly dressed and exuded an air of authority. Welcome, Shuna said with a warm smile. You must be the delegation from Ehrenfest. A suite has been prepared for you. Ferdinand looked surprised. How did you know we were coming? We were discreet. We have our ways, Xian replied, her tone polite but firm. Will you accept your accommodations? After a brief moment of deliberation, Ferdinand nodded, we will. The rooms were luxurious, far beyond what I had expected. It felt almost too good to be true. Are we really allowed to stay here? Mom murmured, her voice full of doubt. Don't worry, I reassured her. It's all been arranged by our OB. Everything is fine. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. The luxury was overwhelming. After settling in, I decided to explore the city with Lutz. As we walked, I noticed a crowd gathering around a group of tourists and two hobgoblin guards. Suddenly, one of the tourists shouted, "You should just die." A powerful wave of energy followed the command but dissipated almost immediately. Shuna stepped into the circle, her expression calm but stern. She said something about the use of that skill being illegal. Xian was with her, looking equally unimpressed by the tourists' behavior. A scuffle broke out when one of the tourists, a man with spiky black hair, lunged at Shuna. Xian intercepted him, and the force of their clash was so intense that I stumbled and fell. Lutz quickly helped me up, and we began running away from the fight. But just as we started to flee, a bright white prism ascended around the city, followed by a deep pink dome. As both sealed, I felt all the strength leave my body, and I collapsed. Ferdinand's POV, all of you stay here and don't come outside. It seems a fight has broken out, I commanded, my voice betraying the urgency I felt. With Eckhart and Justice by my side, I quickly exited our quarters to assess the situation. What I witnessed outside turned my blood cold. Not only were the Farmus knights attacking Tempest, but to my absolute horror, there were also Ehrenfest knights among them. It appeared that our duchy had joined forces with Farmus to declare war on Tempest. How could this have happened without Sylvester's sanction? Immediately, I sent an ordonnance to Sylvester, seeking instructions. The tension mounted as we waited for a response. When it finally came, Sylvester's message was clear. The attack was not his doing. He was investigating the matter and urged me to calm the situation as much as possible. He stressed the importance of concluding the negotiations with Rimuru, especially since it was now certain that our knights would be treated as prisoners of war. "We need to find whoever is leading this attack," I said, my voice grim. "At the very least, we can prevent our duchy from being further implicated in this atrocity." "Yes, my lord," Eckhart and Justice responded in unison, their faces equally serious. We made our way through the chaos to where Fulgen, the knight commander of the Pharmas forces, stood. He was brutally cutting down anyone in his path, and to my dismay, several Ehrenfest knights were fighting alongside him. My worst fears were realized. Rogue elements from Ehrenfest had declared war on Tempest without our lord's approval. "Eckhart, Justice, be prepared to neutralize any Ehrenfest knights who may approach us while I speak to their leader." "As you wish, my lord," they replied, their hands hovering near their weapons. It seemed Veronica had pulled various strings to orchestrate this attack. The thought made my stomach churn with anger and frustration. "Halt," I shouted, stepping forward. "I am Ferdinand, Archduke candidate of Ehrenfest, here on a diplomatic mission." "What are you doing? Murdering these innocent bystanders? Have you no shame?" Fulgen turned to face me, his expression one of disdain. "They're monsters. It doesn't matter. According to our teachings, all monsters are evil and must be eradicated." "But this is a country," I argued, my voice steady despite the rage building within me. "You cannot simply slaughter its citizens. Think of the implications." "It doesn't matter," Fulgen sneered. "They're a nation of monsters, and we can do whatever we want." Our heated exchange was interrupted when I noticed a green-haired Ehrenfest knight named Shiksa approaching the pink-haired Kijin, Shuna. He had already cut down many bystanders and was closing in on her with deadly intent. My heart sank as I realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Before I could intervene, I saw Lutz rush to Shuna's defense, with mine not far behind. "What are you doing?" Lutz shouted at Shiksa. "These people have committed no crimes, why are you killing them?" "Know your place, commoner," Shiksa sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I am a noble, and they are monsters. I can do as I please." Mine, driven by righteous anger, moved to confront Shiksa, but her sister Tuli and their mother Effa held her back, fear etched on their faces. Intrigued by the confrontation, Fulgen approached, and I followed closely, my mind racing for a way to defuse the situation. "Didn't I tell you all to stay indoors?" I demanded, my voice laced with frustration as I glanced at mine's family. "And leave my daughter out here? There's no way that's happening," Effa retorted, her voice trembling with both fear and determination. Shiksa, undeterred, turned his attention to Effa and began to cast crushing on her. I watched in horror as mine's mana flared dangerously, her eyes burning with the same deadly intent I had seen during the incident with Bezowanst. If I didn't act quickly, this would end in tragedy. "Shiksa, stop!" I shouted desperately. "They are humans, citizens of Ehrenfest. You cannot harm them." My plea fell on deaf ears. Just as Shuna stepped forward to intervene, Fulgen moved to strike her down. It was the final straw for mine. Her mana, already unstable, erupted in a furious storm, and in an instant, she obliterated Shiksa with a surge of silver fire. "You, who have no value for life, should die," mine declared, her voice cold and filled with a terrifying finality. Another massive silver fireball formed in her hand, and she hurled it at the remaining knights, incinerating them where they stood. Only Fulgen managed to escape, fleeing in terror from the devastation mine had wrought. As the flames died down, mine staggered, her once fierce expression crumbling. She turned to me, her eyes dull and lifeless. "Head priest, please, take care of my family, for me." With those final words, she collapsed, her body lifeless. The very mana that had surged within her had torn her apart from the inside, leaving nothing but a shell. Mine, no, mine." Effa's scream shattered the night, her voice raw with anguish as she cradled her daughter's lifeless body. "Please, mine, don't leave us. Not like this. Head priest, can't you save her?" Tuli asked, her voice trembling with desperation as tears streamed down her face. "Please, you have to save her." I knelt beside mine, my hands shaking as I checked for any sign of life. But it was hopeless, her heart and pulse were gone, her body destroyed by the catastrophic release of mana. I'm sorry, I whispered, my voice barely audible. Her body is too damaged, there's nothing I can do. No, that can't be true. Effa sobbed, clutching Mine's lifeless form as if she could somehow will her back to life. Tuli fell to her knees beside her mother, both of them overcome with grief. Even Eckhart and Justice, hardened knights though they were, looked on with sorrow in their eyes. As I struggled to contain my own emotions, Benno approached, his face pale. What should we do now? He asked, his voice heavy with the weight of the situation. Before I could answer, a voice interrupted. You are all going to be arrested, a stern, authoritative voice declared. I turned to see a red-haired Kijin approaching, his expression dark with anger. Even though you thwarted the attack, the fact remains that your people attacked us. I don't care what's happening in your country, but until our leader, Rimuru-sama, decides your fate, you will remain under house arrest. I nodded, accepting the severity of the situation. As you wish, I replied, my voice hollow. But please, allow us to take Mine with us. The Kijin's gaze softened slightly, and he nodded. Very well. Now, come. And so, we were placed under house arrest, the weight of our circumstances pressing heavily on my shoulders. As I sat in the cold, unfamiliar room, I began to formulate a plan, a way to appease Rimuru's anger and salvage what little hope remained for Ehrenfest. If I failed, our duchy might not survive the consequences of this disastrous attack.